Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. We are back. Okay, I need the water.
All right, let me have some first. I don't want to run out of steam.
I just coughed when I was laughing just now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. Olomo Mnwazi, we are here, and I am thinking very deeply about the name of this podcast. It's a podcast, that's what I'm going to call it. But I think I might have actually finally honed in one name that I want to actually test out, but we'll talk about it. Today, I have with me an information specialist, Michelle Coates. I know her from university. We'll talk about that, but now she works as an information specialist with Varsity College, and I want to welcome this information specialist friend of mine that I want to share with you. And before she says anything, there's so many things that are happening today with regards to information, and she's one of those people that will now sort of give us some handles, some processes on ways in which to approach information search. Michelle, welcome.
Great, thank you so much. I'm feeling very honored to be here chatting to you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, ordinarily, Michelle would not be sitting in front of a camera of any kind, because I know years back when we were still at university, she would be. I actually met you in the library. You were working as a student assistant then, and I picked up how quiet you are, but knowledgeable with what we needed when we came to you. Knowledgeable about how to find information, and I'm happy to now realize that you've actually moved and worked even in the field, and you're doing further studies around information. But first and foremost, Michelle, where are you from? Who gave birth to you? Where and who were you playing with?
Okay, so I am born and raised right here in Gqeberha, PE. I never moved far away from home. I had a very normal upbringing, nuclear family, the standard family of the time. Went to government schools, Model C schools, Herbert Hurd Primary, and then Collegiate High. And then after that, went to study at Nelson Mandela University.
That's great. This is Michelle. And I know, again, I'm paying attention to the fact that I don't want us to be uncomfortable in any way, but I want to ask a direct sort of question on the transition and your transition from high school, from public high school into the university. Are there any changes you remember? Are there any sort of moments where you have had to sort of change the way you're thinking as you move to these different, from one educational background into the university space? Do you remember anything of that time that was noteworthy for you?
I just remember that NMU was the best place ever at that time. I came from, I would say, a sheltered high school. It was quite a small class, and I think maximum 35 people in the class. And then at Nelson Mandela, you are one of many. The classes are huge, and you have a chance for a fresh start. And I think that's actually where your mindset changes, is you think bigger. And that's never a bad thing to think bigger.
That's okay. And then how were your parents thinking with you, your transition?
The problem being that I started off in a course I did not enjoy. So it was troublesome. I started in pharmacy purely because my marks were good enough. And that's a very bad reason to do anything.
Oh, you did pharmacy.
I started in pharmacy.
Were we in chemistry class together?
We must have been.
Oh, we met in chemistry class, and then you transition into
to volunteering at the library and
Yes.
then student
and that would have been
assistant.
in like those practical classes.
Yes, I did all the chem pracs and everything there too.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I remember that was a long time ago.
Too long ago. Another lifetime ago.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Then from chemistry,
Yes.
you say that you changed because you qualified and you did the course. How far did you move in?
I finished the entire first year. I've passed
pharmacy.
pharmacy. I
Yes.
passed all of the modules, and then in my holiday, I decided I wanted to do actual work experience in a pharmacy. I lasted 10 days, and I hated it so much that I was scared to go to my parents and tell them I don't want to do this anymore, because I felt like they were trusting me, they were helping me through, and now I would disappoint them. So for me it was, okay, I must come up with a plan. What else can I study so that I can go to them and say, I don't want to do this, but I would rather do this other course instead. And I looked through the whole library. I went from shelf to shelf and I looked for what categories might interest me. And I was actually stuck in the psychology section, and I thought, this is something I can do. And then I changed courses to study BA psychology instead, with a second major in English. But then I found I enjoyed the English more than the psychology.
Now, how old were you when you went to university?
It was straight out of high school. So 18 years old in high school, 19 years old in the
So this
first
is now
year.
the time that you really realize that this is not what you want to do.
Correct.
Because a lot of us, we took longer
Yes.
to understand that, yes, we qualified, our aptitude really made us qualify to do science, but then at the end of the day, it's not what we want. I did the same thing.
Yes.
And change. After years of attempting, I was okay with most of the subjects, but then inorganic chemistry just dealt with me. I just could
shame.
not understand that.
That's the one I enjoyed the most.
I know, because people would be mixing things and, like, I can see this, balancing the equation, and it was really horrible. I passed organic chemistry. I passed your first year of BSc zoology, botany. But we did physics and math then. And then for second year, I registered to do botany, microbiology, and biochemistry.
Okay.
Now, why did I choose that? I don't know. I just thought it was, a sensible direction at the time. But I knew that I enjoyed and understood botany, study of plants, and and then now the microbes that I need to look at and understand. The DNA we have to extract, the chemicals that we have to mix and extract a particular compound.
Yes.
That really doesn't make sense to me. A lot of it really didn't make sense. But I appreciated the knowledge, the understanding
Yes.
of the world, to its smallest, minute structure. What did you take from science into psychology, then language? What is still consistent for you?
I think it's just inquisitivity and curiosity. At the end of the day, it's you don't want to just accept what is around you. You want to really go into the details. And for me, science is about exploration. So to not take things at face value, to look a little bit deeper. And I think that it can link with English, because English, you can read a literature book and you can enjoy it for what it is, or you can dig deeper and you really, really go into detail about what does this book mean. So that's the scientific process behind it. And I think maybe that stuck with me, not so much the actual content of the course, but just that feeling of curiosity about life in general.
And the fact that you can find further answers that are not at display at a particular moment.
Yes.
And then how, again, maybe I want to hear, I'm interested also from the parentage side, what did the parents say when you then changed to another focus after psychology?
Yes, well, I was expecting disappointment, but I think they understood that this is not what was going to make me happy. And while it would have given me a very, very great bank balance compared to what I currently do, it's not about the money. It's about enjoying your job and looking at that bigger picture. So they were very understanding. And luckily, my marks were good enough that I could get partial bursaries in order to fund the studies. Because I would have felt really bad if now I had to pay back the money that I had wasted in year one. So luckily enough, I had some merit bursaries to fall back on. So it wasn't as bad as I expected.
Yes, so you still navigated. And your world... I've only seen you either, I remember with the white coat now, across this bench, this chemistry and chemical benches. We used to actually mix all these chemicals. But then also at the library, for me, that's the most vivid because we basically
saw
have to
you
come
more often there, yes.
And then even post university, I haven't seen much of you. Who is around you? Who are your friends? Who's around you? How do you socialize?
I think because I spend so much time at work, my work colleagues I know quite well and I get along with. So they are just pure number of hours that I'm around them. They are my work family. And the topics are mostly surrounding the work context, and we are an academic library. So at the end of the day, our conversations are about the students and how can we support the students through the library space. Outside of that, so on a more personal friend, family level, I'm still in contact. I am married, so I've got the in-laws and bigger network with extended family. And then I do still visit my parents about once a week. They are still in the same hometown as I am.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I haven't lost touch. Been able to connect.
I'm asking this question because once someone is regarded as, someone who works with information already, and another person might not think that they would have the time. Or so I'm just trying to also see it's like a standard sort of work day with standard after work activities and weekends and family and things like that. Now, how do you what do you understand about information that now has even interested you to study your master's?
Yes, this was something I grappled with for quite a while. I wanted something useful. So studying English, personal development, 100%, but not practical in the real world. And that actually, I felt like I might be wasting my time if I were to carry on in the English route. So fantastic just for personal discovery, but not for helping others. And I think that was my main goal, was to help others, link them to the information that they need. And if I do my master's, and the plan is to do my doctorate after that, I want to do a study where we can show the difference that a library can make in a student's life. So does it mean that they will have an easier time studying? Could it be that information literacy is the problem? Does it start earlier on in high school or even primary school? The stats about the readers that grade 4, they cannot read for meaning, that is extreme. And that is something that pulls at my heartstrings and makes me want to study further in order to share whatever results the study brings forth, to share that with others and say, okay, these are the issues. Maybe this is how we could make a difference.
Okay, can we just pause? I think that's my daughter out there. We'll cut it out. Come in.
I thought it was the wind.
Hey,
hello.
How are you?
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Are you playing with Aaron? Or did they go? Okay, I'm gonna wait here for us. maybe close the door and then you can sit there. And we have to be silent now.
Yeah, she's a good girl. How old is she?
She's 5.
5.
Yes, I had a thing about
She's
that.
very tall, hey?
She is.
Tall for her age.
Yeah. Leave it, it's fine. But you can just sit there. Then I'm going to clap again.
Yes. It's all good.
You are talking about information literacy.
Yes.
And that is an interesting subject for me.
Okay.
I did not know that there is something called information literacy. Talk briefly about that. What does it entail?
Okay, so literacy in general means the ability to read and be able to process information, usually through books and reading of different things. But information literacy is, can you find the articles you need when you need it? And linked to that is computer literacy. Are you able to access the technology and really be able to use a digital platform in order to find that information? So they're all linked in a way.
And how is this information organized in this day and age? You can take a historic perspective into the future currently, however, but how is this information organized currently?
Okay, so academic information, so that we're not talking social media here. We're talking about journal articles, scientific studies. A lot of that is online these days, and they are working at open access. Now, open access means that you do not have to pay to view the journal article, which is really, really good for the digital, like in the digital environment where you would either have limited access to ebooks or maybe you even come from a rural area and you only have a cell phone in which to access. So you cannot go to a physical library. You can only access it online. So that would be the digital space that we currently find most of our knowledge in.
And I'm going to ask even further. Say someone wants to, an example, we have had a recent crisis and a pandemic. Most of the information we got about the pandemic was from national television, from newspapers, from politicians, who at times would make a slogan more than they are dispersing information. And we seem to be losing the ability to source out and search or understand where credible, reliable information. And I'm asking this question because at the time when Nelson Mandela Bay was regarded as the Wuhan of the country, and everything was just falling apart. That's what we saw online. VW, an example, had about 2,000 beds that they've prepared.
Right.
Only 50 of those beds were occupied, and they'd prepared 100 and something health practitioners to assist with that. And then there were other spaces, but it seemed as if we have lost control. And I listened to some politicians, they were not communicating the right information. And at that time, I think it would have been a great time for us as the people to communicate from the right sources, to be able to articulate from the right sources.
Yes.
So in times of crisis, what should be a standard emergency response, an SOS response when it comes to information side?
Well, that is a very, very serious issue. Besides the service delivery issue, it is keeping honest, open channels of communication. If we cannot trust the source, how on earth are we ever going to establish any sort of connection? So, like you mentioned, credible sources. How do we know that the information we are told is actually true? We do have to, for ourselves, we have to work out or figure out what is the most accurate information. And we can only do that by trusting others. And we will have to trust those in power or those who are in control of those resources. And maybe if there was a spokesperson, or maybe if there was just a go-to person, a ward councillor, somebody on our side or that we feel we can approach, and then they ask directly with their contacts. What is the way forward? How do we solve this? Because without that information being filtered down, we are going to be left in the dark.
Okay, lastly on this wave, if I were to go and look, I have a question to ask. It's of scientific nature, whatever. ChatGPT,
Yes.
AI. How should I go about informing myself about what is real, what is not? Because we seem to be getting fear, and other people are too excited about it for different reasons. How should I go about finding out about these, the move in information and how technology and artificial intelligence is now communicating on our behalf or learning so that they can actually communicate on our behalf, especially in the learning environment?
For sure. So knowledge is power, and the more you read, the more you will know. Now, that
So we
being
can't avoid
said, we have to be careful about what we read. So if we're reading junk, it's not going to help us. So if you're not sure, go to a librarian or information specialist. Ask them, is this a good site, a website maybe that I'm reading? Or is it actually just somebody's blog post that they're writing about their own opinions and that it's not actually true? So really, if you're not sure, ask someone who might know. And with regards to ChatGPT and the AI bots, you can ask Bing, you can ask all sorts of questions. And if you don't ask it the right way, it may or may not give you the right answer. So I would say don't trust those AI bots 100%, because they will sound like they're telling you the right thing. They will sound knowledgeable. They'll back it up with a fact or a reference. But actually, that's just the AI being programmed to make it sound like they know what they're talking about in the natural language.
So they won't show that they don't know, or
Yes, they will state it as fact, even if the fact is blurry and that it's not actually
So you
the
still
whole
need
truth.
to find a way of verifying that.
Yes, and
No,
I think
yes.
that is one of the steps I find with the students is they want to take the shortcut to information. So they don't internalize the information for themselves. They ask the question into the chatbot, and they take whatever that answer is as gold.
And copy and paste.
and then they don't want to change it because they think it's 100% correct. Instead of interrogating, instead of looking a little bit further, maybe going to different places for the information. So yeah, there are good places for information and bad places.
Do you use AI also to catch them?
We have programs
Yes.
that they look at similarity. Has this idea been used by other students before? And if so, it will link to other students' work. So then we would flag all of those students who have similar work, and we would investigate it further. It's quite a lengthy process. It can end up with a disciplinary hearing, and worst case scenario, they can be banned from studying at any institution for the next 5 years.
Because of plagiarism.
Because of plagiarism, yes.
Okay. Now, what are your masters on?
I'm studying a Masters of Information Science, and my topic is communities of practice, but virtual communities of practice. So as you were saying about how do we navigate the next pandemic, or if things go online, what would we do? How would we share the information? Communities. So it could be an interest group. It could be a bunch of master's students that get together and share information, or even maybe you have a university professor who wants to share their knowledge with future generations. So you gather together maybe once a month as a community, you share ideas that way. But my study would be that you do this on a virtual platform.
Okay, and then you talk about librarian, then you talk about a knowledge and information specialist. Has there been a transition, an evolution in a library or for a librarian that now we're talking about information as opposed to that?
Yes, for sure.
How has that
So,
been? Yes.
at heart, I will always be a librarian. That's the name I grew up with. That's the name that sticks. And it's also shorter to say. But information specialist...
And well understood.
Yes, we all know what a librarian is. Because now it's so difficult to navigate in this day and age, the libraries need to be more future forward and thinking more about how to be relevant. Because if nobody is going to read physical books, then what use does a librarian have? So we've found ways to make ourselves useful. We help with, writing centers and even photocopying facilities, computers. These days, a library or information center will always have the plug points, the access, free Wi-Fi, a safe space. And it's about more than just the books.
Do you have coffee in the libraries? I think libraries should have coffee.
I agree with you. It should be like Woolworths. They've got that section with the cappuccino machines, and you can have a slice of cake in a certain zone that's marked off.
I see even some bookstores. I saw in Durban, some bookstores are now attached to a
coffee shop.
A coffee shop or a coffee section.
That's right.
So talking about how the library needs to evolve with the times. I know historically a library would have been a closed construction with all the shelves.
Yes, like a museum of books, basically.
Of books. Exactly. And then are there, I know probably you might not really know, but how are there processes or ways or maybe plans to rethink even the construction of what a library is, how it feels, how it looks like?
I would love to be part of that visionary process. If I had a more senior position or, a deputy director position, for example, one could suggest...
Here's a deputy director. If you need a librarian, an information specialist that can reconstruct this whole knowledge system of your entity, the university, colleges, private colleges, schools, here is a director.
Thank you for that. I would love to have the freedom to be able to design something that is unique and very useful. So things have been talked about, but I don't think any plans have been put into place yet. It's definitely something that a lot of students have asked for. A more internet cafe kind of vibe.
Yes.
Something more casual, not so strict and every now and then, but a place that they can have discussions in the right area of the library. So there can still be a dedicated study zone that is super quiet, and then the other zone can be for discussions and collaborations.
And I mean, the acoustics of that place could also be designed in such a way that it doesn't encourage too much noise. It absorbs, it doesn't reflect so much of so even though people are talking, it's sort of...
It's dampened.
Yeah, it's dampened, yes.
I believe that NMU does have discussion rooms in the library that are soundproof. So that's a step in the right direction. For sure.
I actually, I've only gone to particular areas. I know those discussion areas. I haven't been in a while.
Yeah, so that's something that they can maybe run with.
Can do. Yeah. I'm actually, now they're talking about this, now we're talking about the reconstruction of the library.
Think big.
There's a guy called Sir David Ajayi, a Ghanaian born, but now... I think he's based in London, and he sort of got naturalized there. Has this architecture firm, and part of his projects included redesigning and rebuilding libraries. Sir David Ajayi, excellent guy. He's now also building the Thabo Mbeki Presidential Library.
Amazing.
And he did the African American museum. Gallery.
Historical museum. That's one of those.
In America, and many other in Ghana, redesigning a lot of spaces. And I think we might be in a time where we redesign, even though, yes, you are thinking differently about library/information, information learning. Like an information packaging place or something like that. But you reconstruct it in the knowledge system virtually, but then you also reconstruct the physical space as well, so that people can associate this knowledge acquisition with a new and revamped knowledge institution.
Yes.
So I just thought that's something that we can throw out there. Today we have Michelle quotes. I actually was teasing her, saying that, is that quotes or quotes? It's quotes. And I'm laughing because I am Mwazi. So she is quote.
I've got my coat.
So Sizimbadla nje apha, and I have my daughter who's playing here. She's just walking across the light and...
It's okay.
It's so bala. High five. So if you see any shadows and stuff, don't worry, don't run away. There's no Casper here. Thank you again, Michelle, for coming. Maybe as we are coming to like the close of this conversation, I want you to reflect again on your. You said you're gonna do PhD, and I know PhD is about knowledge contribution. I know you are doing masters, but at the PhD level, what are you thinking about?
Well, definitely for a
of course, you don't
conceptually.
You don't want to share all your ideas, but maybe you might just get a community of practice.
Yes. Well, if I find that I want to go a slightly different route, then I might go back to information literacy as a topic and rework the conceptual framework around that kind of topic. Because, like I said, that is where I feel I can make the most difference. Is, whatever level we're at, we want our students to be supported by the library, and if we can do that through an information center or information space, then they will be equipped and they will be literate. And that would mean that it is a job well done.
Okay. And then looking now at the community around you in Gqeberha, in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, are you seeing any interesting trends when it comes to knowledge management?
There are. It does depend on the space that you are in. And while I am in private higher education at the moment, I feel maybe that's where I should be, because research orientated. We are a nation that needs to do some more research and explore our roots and find our own ways of doing things, not the Western way of doing things. We want the global South way of doing things. And there's not enough research. So if I can assist, and in whatever form, so it could be linking the students to the information. It could be helping them write proposals, research proposals, that's literature reviews, those kinds of things. That is the focus that I would want to do.
Here's another librarian play with that bookcase.
Doing some shelf reading.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I'm listening, sorry.
Yes, yeah. So for me, it's about linking the students to the information and providing the support with the writing of the thesis. People don't really come to the library because they think, oh, what does the librarian know? Let me go to a proper writing center, a copywriter or proofreader. But before it gets to the proofreader stage, which you pay quite a lot for, why not come to an academic librarian and ask them, are the sources I'm using good? Are there better ones? Can you help me find some articles? And most likely the academic librarian will be more than willing to assist.
We're going to conclude with the question of ethics in knowledge, but I want to say that you are already contributing in this community and in developing students, because I know that you've donated your books previously. Do you want to say something about that?
Okay, well, I really want to promote reading culture. It's something that I grew up with. I grew up going to the public libraries every week. I had 3 library cards on different people's names in the family, but they were all for me. I would go out with my packet of books every Saturday, and I would go home and spend the whole week reading through new books because we didn't have, a home library. We had to go to the public library. My daughter these days is pretty lucky. I buy her books from Bargain Books, and she has her own little collection at home. So I feel like it goes full circle. You want to eventually share your experience, the good experience you had, and let other people also be part of it. And have conversations with the students. How did you find this book? It's not a textbook, it's a leisure reading book. How did you find it? Was it what you liked? Maybe you want some other kind of genre. Maybe they're into true crime, who knows? But there is a book for everyone, and you just have to find what you like.
And then the question of as you conclude, the question of ethics, misinformation, just the question of ethics and knowledge. What are your takes? What has been bothering you? What is good? What is bad?
Okay, so in viewing a number of students' work, the most worrying thing for me is the lack of critical thought. It's either that they see it as a history project and they're just stating other people's opinions. Ethically, if they do not say where the idea came from, that is plagiarism. Even if they put it into their own words, paraphrasing, they must still credit the source, give credit where it is due. This person came up with the idea, hence we put it in brackets with the date next to it. So yes, I think people are taking shortcuts, and that is actually affecting the quality of the research that comes out if they have not done the full research behind it.
And then now, how about ethics in the AI world?
That is a very gray area. At the moment, it's one of those things that if you use ChatGPT, you actually need to be honest enough to say, I did use it. You upfront, maybe on the disclaimer page, because with students, they've got that plagiarism declaration, and they say, I promise I did not copy or use anyone else's work in my assignment. They must take that very seriously, because if they don't say, I used ChatGPT, it can come around to bite them later on. And it can be seen as, academic unethicalness.
Michelle Coates, I want to conclude, but I want her to actually say any other things, like say your piece, whatever that you, as you heard the conversation, that you feel like you also need to sort of mention, or an area that you would like to go into. Is there anything in your mind, at the top of your mind?
Well, for our viewers out there, I would just say, please don't stop reading. And I say that because I did stop reading. Life got too busy. I felt I didn't have enough time. But you become more enriched when you expand your mind. And that one of the ways to do that is through reading. So don't stop reading.
We are not stopping. We're going to continue. And maybe at particular intervals where there are issues that pertain information management, and your kind of work as an information specialist, will bring you back to sort of have a view. Maybe you should think about that. I know there will be a crisis. I know we probably would need to have ways to deal with that crisis. And fundamental to that would be to go and find relevant information. I remember when the COVID issue came, the crisis, the pandemic came. I was asked to write a position paper on by one of the developmental institutions to write for them to see how they can either spend the budget that they have with the changed environment in order, or reconstruct, even if just some policy that will enable them to still meet their obligations. And I read a bit about what has already been written. It was a scientific paper from, I think, in Asia, in China somewhere. It was written, if I remember correctly, it was 19th of December, 2019 or 20, just
before the pandemic.
Yes, because that's what I went to look for. What has been written about the virus at the time, and who has written it. And then second to that, I looked at the stats at the time that the death rate was about 1.5%, even though the infection rate was at about 50%.
Yes.
And so now it communicates an idea that the virus or the virus is highly infectious, but then not a deadly sort of virus. But then because of the panic and how we dealt with it and how information was not disseminated appropriately and the right information communicated. So my submission then was that, look, the virus is not a deadly
it's not
virus.
dangerous. It's not as dangerous as people thought.
Yes, 1.5% death rate is still quite high because it's the death of human being. But then the level of your response and how you want to reconstruct your institution on the basis of a highly infectious but not a deadly. So there are some of the, and I've learned this through, just reading and seeing, okay, there's more information out there, but probably we don't know how to access it and we don't know how to analyze and be able to make decisions for ourselves. So this is why you are then an important and integral part of decision making across board. And of course, depending on the focus, the field of study that you look at, but a librarian and information specialist is an integral part of that wheel that needs to re-inform, to re-educate society when it comes to this information literacy you talk about. Yes. Thanks once again, Michelle. Please think about coming back and give us more time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are done. And see you next time.